بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد Alhamdulillah, we continue going over this tremendous book by the Allama Fadilatul Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. That tremendous book, Kitab Aqeedatut Tawheed, the book of the Aqeedah of Tawheed. We had come to the next section. We've come to the next section where the Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he covers a tremendous he covers a tremendous point. And as mentioned in last week's class, some of this will be a review from when we went over the anwa' of ibadah. So it will be a review for those who it is a review for, and it will be new for those whom it is new for. The Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he says in this section, he says al-ibadat tawqifiyya, that the ibadah or the ibadat, that it is tawqifiyya. Tawqifiyya, it means that an individual, he has to stop. He has to stop as relates to the ibadah. And they only proceed once they have a dalil. Because the general principle as relates to the ibadat is that everything is la yajuz until there comes a proof and evidence. The general principle when it comes to the ibadat is that it's not permissible unless you have an evidence. So something that is from ibadah, then you need an evidence before you can proceed. You need an evidence before you can proceed. And this is what we understand from a tawqifiyya. This is the meaning and the concept of a tawqifiyya. But we understand this because a tawqifiyya is from the word waqafa. Waqafa, it means to stop. It means to stop. You stop until you have dalil. Once you have dalil, now you can proceed. Proceed based upon proofs and evidences. Proceed based upon proofs and evidences. Now, the Shaykh, he says, عبادات توقيفية بمعنى أنه لا يشرع شيء منها إلا بدليل من كتاب والسنة. The Shaykh, he says that it's توقيفية, meaning that nothing from it has been legislated except that it has a dalil from the kitab and from the sunnah. So anything that does not have a dalil from the kitab and the sunnah, then it's not from ibadah. It's not from ibadah. Because everything that's from kitab and the sunnah, it has what? Dalil. has dalil. Naam. So the Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, وَمَا لَمْ يُشْرَعْ يُعْتَبَرْ بِدْعَةً مَرْدُودًا. So whatever has not been legislated, then is considered to be a bid'ah, is considered to be an innovation, and it is marududa, and it is rejected. So whatever is not legislated by the Sharia, whatever has not been legislated in Islam, then it is a bid'ah, and a bid'ah is marududa. Marududa meaning it is rejected. It is rejected. It's not accepted. And the dalil for this is the famous hadith that is mutafaqun alayh. And that is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said, "Man ahdatha fi amrina hadha ma laysa minhu fahuwa raddun." That whoever introduces into this affair of ours that which is not from it, then it is rejected. Whoever introduces into this affair of ours that which is not from it, then it is rejected. So if a person invents something and he claims that it is ibadah, but it's something that he has invented, he has no proof and no evidence for it, then it is rejected. You're not going to be rewarded for it. Likewise, the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith of our mother Aisha, likewise this hadith before mentioned was also from narrated upon our mother Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, and it was collected by Bukhaari and Muslim. But then there comes a narration inside of Muslim on the authority of our mother Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, when she said that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man amila laysa alayhi amruna fahuwa raddun." That whoever does an action, whoever does something that it doesn't have on it our command, then it is rejected. Raddun. And the meaning of raddun here in this hadith, and it's important, inshallah ta'ala, write this in your notes. The meaning of raddun, it means marudud. So the meaning of rad here, it is marudud. Naam. And rad is spelled ra-dal. Ra-dal. Naam. Ra-dal. So marudud is spelled mim, ra. Dal, waw, dal. Naam. Marudud. And it's on the wazn of what? Maf'ul. Marudud, maf'ul. It's on the wazn of maf'ul. طيب. So it's mardud. It is rejected. So the meaning of rad here, then it means that that thing is rejected. So if a person does an action and they deem it to be from the deen of al-Islam, but it doesn't have on it a dalil from the kitab nor from the sunnah, then it is what? It's bid'ah and it is marduda. It is bid'ah and bid'ah is marduda, is rejected. So a person is not going to even benefit from it. Now, so give you an example. The Sufiyya, who they sit around in circles with the lights off and they chant hu, 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 right? And they say this is from ibadah, because dhikr is from ibadah. Sahulillah. Dhikr is from ibadah. And they say that this is a form of dhikr. They sit in circles, they turn off the lights, and they'll say, hu, 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 hu. And they say this is ibadah. And they may spend hours doing this. And they may exhaust themselves doing this. Now I'm thinking that it is drawing them near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the reality is that they have no dalil for what they are doing, because the Prophet ﷺ, he never did this. The Sahaba never did this. The Tabi'un never did this. The Atba' Tabi'een, they never did this. None of the Imams of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah ever did this. None of them ever did this. Naam, because there's no dalil for it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He didn't send down any authority for them to do this. So therefore, what they are doing, because it has no textual proofs, then it is a bid'ah. And it is rejected. So however many hours they have sat there and they have done this thing, then they have gotten no reward for it. And if anything, what has happened is that what? Is that they have gotten sin against them for being in contradiction to the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Naam, so they have a waste, they have exhausted themselves just to come up as losers. You understand? And this is because al-ibadah is tawqifiyya. We stop until we know the ruling of Allah's Messenger, and then we proceed. Naam. We stop until we know the ruling of Allah and His Messenger, of Allah and His Messenger, and then we proceed. Until then, we stop. Brother, do this thing from ibadah. I need daleel. No daleel, I can't do it. Until I have daleel. Now once I have daleel, now I can get moving. Why? Because ibadat tawqifiyya. You have to stop. You need daleel first. Naam. The Shaykh, he mentions, he says, mardud alayhi amal, that it is rejected upon him, his actions. Mardud alayhi amal, his actions are rejected upon him. La yuqbal minhu, they will not be accepted from him. Bal ya'tham alayhi, but rather he will receive a sin for it. لأنه معصية, because when you do something that has no daleel, but you call it an act of worship, then in actuality that thing is sin, is sinful. The Shaykh, he says, وَلَيْسَ طَاعَةً, and it's not obedience, it's a sin, it's not obedience. Naam. The Shaykh, he says, ثُمَّ إِنَّ الْمِنْهَجِ السَّلِيمِ, he says, then we must mention that the correct methodology, the sound and correct methodology في أداء العبادات المشروعة هو, the sound methodology in performing the legislated acts of worship, then verily it is الاعتدال بين التساهل والتكاسل وبين التشدد والغلو. The proper methodology, this is very important, between or the proper methodology for ibadah, then it will be that middle course, that moderation, right, between being lackadaisical and lazy, and between being harsh and extreme. So on one side of the scale, you have lackadaisical and lazy. On the other side of the scale, you have being harsh and extreme. So the way that's right is the way that's where? In the middle, between these two. It doesn't go into being lackadaisical and lazy, and doesn't go to being harsh and extreme. Naam. And the dalil for this is Allah Ta'ala's statement, فَاسْتَقِمْ كَمَا أُمِرْتَ. So be upright as you have been commanded. وَمَنْ تَابَ مَعَكَ. Now this ayah, it comes in Surah Al-Hud. In Surah Al-Hud. And it's verse 112. Naam. But I want everyone to get this ayat down good, because it's a dalil for our correct methodology. Right? So Allah Ta'ala, and pay attention, in the beginning He says, and now, so be upright. So stand, right, firm and straight. Be upright. Fastaqim. Naam. So stand firm and straight. Stand, yani asking Allah to make you firm and straight upon the right way. Upon the right way. وَمَنْ تَابَ مَعَكَ. And those of your companions who turn in repentance to Allah with you. Naam. وَلَا تَطْغَوْا. And do not transgress the bounds. Do not transgress the bounds. Don't go too far. Naam. Do not transgress the bounds. The Shaykh, he says, فهذه الآية الكريمة فيها رسم لخطة المنهج السليم في فعل العبادات. He says, so inside of this noble ayah, inside of this noble ayah, we have in it an outline which shows us the correct methodology and the correct course of action and the correct methodology as relates to carrying out the acts of worship. We have the correct methodology which shows us how to carry out the acts of worship. Right? He said, وَذَلِكَ بِاسْتِقَامَةٍ ذَلِكَ بِاسْتِقَامَةٍ في فعلها على طريق معتدل. And that is by being upright, having al-istiqamah, being upright in performing these actions upon a way that is moderate. Upon a way that is moderate. And it's important for us to understand that what it means by being moderate, or what is moderation. Moderation is what Allah Ta'ala has commanded you to do inside the Sharia. The laws of the Sharia, the rules and regulation of the Sharia, then this is moderate. You understand? The rules and regulations of the Sharia, this is moderate. This is why we understand that there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim, meaning as opposed to a Muslim who is orthodox and a Muslim who is liberal. Because some they try to bring these terminologies just like the kuffar have with their religions. They say this one he's orthodox, this one he's liberal, right? And this one he's moderate. And what they mean by that? You understand? Because the one who they call liberal, then this is the one who don't really practice Islam. Maybe he don't even pray. But they say it's fine, he's liberal. Right? Then you have the other one who he pray 5 times a day and so on and so forth, and they say about him, he's orthodox. Then you got this other guy, he call himself moderate, right? He may do something, leave a lot of stuff, and he pray a couple times a day, and maybe only Jum'ah and so on and so forth, and they say about this one that he's what? Moderate. Yes, and it's not moderation at all. It's not moderation. What's real moderation is the one who implements the rules and regulations of Islam. That's moderation. That's the middle course. So the Muslim by default, when he practices the Sharia, he's moderate. Now, he's moderate. Because Islam calls us to moderation. It doesn't cause us to go too far here, too far there. So the Muslim that practices the Sharia, then he is what? He's moderate already. What they mean by moderation is not moderation. So the Shaykh, he clarifies and he makes it clear. He says that upon the way that is moderate. He says, الَّذِي لَيْسَ فِيهِ إِفْرَاطٌ وَلَا تَفْرِيطٌ. He said that way that doesn't have in it any type of exaggeration or any type of neglect. So it doesn't have in it extremism. Doesn't have in it extremism. Right? And at the same time, it doesn't have in it any neglect. So they don't go too far to the right, nor do they go too far to the left. That's real moderation. That's real moderation. The Shaykh, he says, Hasbu Shara. And what they do is in accordance to the Sharia, is in accordance to the legislation. And we understand this in Allah Ta'ala's statement, Kama umirta, like you have been commanded. So we fulfill the actions as we have been commanded. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, He tells us that we have to pray Fajr. And that Fajr is rak'atan, is 2 units of prayer. طيب. So moderation is to pray Fajr as we have been commanded to pray Fajr. In the time of Fajr and with 2 units of prayer. A person going to the extreme will be a person who want to pray Fajr 4 rak'at. 4 rak'at. Now, that's extreme. Going to the other side, a person who says, well, I don't maybe got to pray Fajr every day. I pray Fajr on Yom Jum'ah only. Every other day I don't pray Fajr. Now, then that's what? That's going to the other side of extreme, meaning neglect. He's being neglectful. This one, he hardly prays Fajr. This one, he want to pray Fajr 4 rak'at. This is not correct. We have to do it as Allah Ta'ala has commanded us. And that is what? 2 units of prayer. Rak'atan. 2 units of prayer. So in every action that we have been commanded to do, we do it as we have been commanded to do it. We do it as we have been commanded to do it, because the command that we have been given is the moderate way. That's the middle course. That's the middle course. Now, the Shaykh, he says, ثُمَّ أَكَّدَ ذَلِكَ بِقَوْلِهِ. And then Allah Ta'ala, He reinforced this concept. He reinforced this with His statement, وَلَا تَطْغَوْا. And don't go extreme. Don't transgress the bounds. Do things as you have been commanded. Don't go too far, as it comes in the ayah. وَلَا تَطْغَوْا. And don't go too far. Do not transgress the bounds. The Shaykh, he says, وَالْطُغْيَانِ الطُغْيَانِ. Right? What does this mean? And الطُغْيَانِ is spelled alif, lam, ta, ghain, ya, alif, noon. Naam. الطُغْيَانِ, the definition of it, what it means, as it says, وَلَا تَطْغَوْا. Do not go too far. Don't come with this طُغْيَانِ. الطُغْيَانِ مجاوزة الحد بالتشدد وتنطع وهو الغلو. He says it means don't go too far, don't transgress the bounds. He says الطُغْيَانِ, it is to transgress the limits, to go beyond the limits by being too harsh and by being extreme. And this is extremism. This is وَهُوَ الْغُلُو. This is extremism. By a person being extreme. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He prohibits us from being extreme. The Shaykh, he says, giving us an example of this, he says, وَلَمَّا عَلِمَ صلى الله عليه وسلم بأن ثلاثة من أصحابه تقالوا في أعمالهم حيث قال أحدهم أنا أصوم ولا أفطر، وقال آخر وأنا أصلي ولا أرقد، وقال الثالث وأنا لا أتزوج النساء. The first one, he said, I'm going to fast, usumu wala aftir, and I'm not going to break my fast. Right? He said, I'm going to fast perpetually. I'm not going to break my fast. Every day I'm going to fast. Another one said, I'm going to stand up at night and I'm not going to rest. I'm not going to sleep in the night. I'm going to pray all night, every night. The third one, he said, and as far as me, I'm not going to marry women. I'm not going to marry women. I'm not going to get married. So when the Prophet ﷺ heard this, he refuted each and every one of these individuals. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, أَمَّا أَنَا فَأَصُومُ وَأَفْطِرُ وَتَزَوَّجُ النِّسَاءِ. He said, as far as me, I fast and I break my fast, and I marry women. Naam, and inside another narration, he mentioned ﷺ that he prays at night and he sleeps. He says, فَمَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. And whoever desires other than my sunnah, then he is not from me. He's not from me. So we see that these people it is an example of people who have gone too far. Saying he's going to fast every day is going too far. It's going too far. The Prophet ﷺ, he said the best fast is the fast of Dawood, alayhi salatu wassalam. And the fast of Dawood, it was what? He will fast one day, then the day after that he will break his fast and he will eat. Then he will fast again, and so on and so forth. Meaning he will fast every other day. Every other day. So half of the year was fasting, half of the year was eating. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ said this is the best fast. You fast, you break your fast. You fast, you break your fast. But as far as a person coming and saying, I'm going to do a perpetual fast, every day I'm going to fast, every day I'm going to fast, every day I'm going to fast, this is good, right? No. Because now you're doing a legislative act in an unlegislated manner. You understand? Because now they're doing a legislative act in an unlegislated manner. It's like a person who decided he wants to make Hajj in the month that's not from the months of Hajj. You can't make Hajj any time of the year. It has specific months. Any person who come in and say, well, I got cheap plane tickets now, so I'm going to go make Hajj now by myself. It's okay. It's not Hajj. But he said, but I'm doing a legislative act. Yes, but you're doing it in an unlegislated manner. Right? Likewise, a person he come and he say, what about dua? Right? When we sit around in a circle and we all together and the imam is saying things, everyone's saying ameen, 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 ameen. That's dua, right? Isn't dua legislated? Isn't it approved for dua? Yes, but not upon this manner that you're doing it. Not upon this manner that you're doing it. So when they asked some of the Salaf, because the man, he get up and he was praying, all these perpetual prayers and things like this, adding to that which has been legislated. So they told him, you cannot do this. So he said, am I going to be punished for praying? They said, no, but you will be punished for contradicting the sunnah of Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, this is the reality. This is how we have to gauge, we have to understand. So although they're coming with things, or they mention certain things that are legislated, like the prayer at nighttime, like the fasting, right? When you do it in a manner that's not legislated, then this is not permissible. This is not permissible. So the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ رَغِبَ عَنْ سُنَّتِي فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. Whoever wants and desires other than my sunnah, then he's not from me. And then with regards to the one who says, I'm not going to marry women, then we understand that this concept of being celibate and being celibate by choice, right? This is in never marrying, by choice. This is not from the deen of al-Islam. It's not from the deen of al-Islam. But the Prophet ﷺ, he encourages the Muslims to marry. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Qur'an, in Surah Nisa, he encourages the Muslims to marry. Naam, this concept of, I'm going to stay away from the dunya, so I'm not going to marry. This is not from Islam at all. This is going too far. This is going too far. That's not the middle course. It's going too far. Now, if a person dies, he wanted to get married, he intended to get married, he tried to get married, but he died before he was given the tawfiq to get married, that's something different. That's something different, because he had the intention to marry. He just died as a young man, or he died before he can get married. Or she died before she can get married. Now that's. But for the person who intends that they're never going to get married, and they're thinking that this is some kind of religious sign of devotion and so on and so forth, no. Because Islam has not legislated that. It's not legislated to do these type of things. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was very stern against these people, because the deen calls for moderation. The one who says he's going to pray all night and he's not going to sleep, he's going to fast every day, and it's never going to be the day of the year that he's not fasting, and so on and so forth. And the one who he's saying, I'm not going to get married, the Prophet ﷺ was stern against them. He said, whoever desires other than my sunnah, he's not from me. That's stern. That's showing you that this situation is serious. Islam calls us to be moderate. To be moderate. To take things in moderation. Not to go too far and to be extreme. The Shaykh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he mentions and he brings some detail highlighting and outlining these two categories of individuals. The Shaykh, he says, وَهُنَاكَ الْآنِ, he said, and right now, فِئَتَانِ, you got two groups, يعني مِنَ النَّاسِ, you have two groups of the people. He said, right now, you got two groups of the people. نعم. The Shaykh, he says, عَلَى طَرَفَيْ نَقِيض فِي أَمْرِ عِبَادَاتِ. You have two categories of the people who are on opposite sides as relates to worship. You have two groups of people who are on complete opposite sides. They are polar opposites as relates to worship. The Shaykh, he says, the first group, the فئة الأولى, the first group, قصرت في المفهوم العبادة في المفهوم العبادة وتساهلت في أدائها حتى عطلت كثيرا من أنواعها. He said the first group, they come up short and they underestimate and diminish, or have a diminished underestimation as relates to their understanding of worship. And they are lazy with regards to carrying it out. So much so unto the point that they may even deny and neglect many of the categories of worship. They may even deny, neglect many of the categories of worship. Naam. And how many people do we find like this? Those who are lackadaisical in their application of practicing the deen of al-Islam. So I'll give you an example. If you would say to them, grow your beard, to this man who's cutting his beard, and he'll come and he'll say, it's okay, yani, you don't have to do that. It's just sunnah. That's usually what you hear, right? It's okay, it's just sunnah, you have to do that. Then what is it in essence they're doing? They're turning away and they're denying this aspect of worship. Because when a man, he grows his beard, this is in compliance to the command of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, وَاتْرِكُ اللِّحَى, leave alone your beards. This is in compliance to the command of the Prophet ﷺ. Allah Ta'ala, He tells us, وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever the Prophet gives you, take it. And whatever he prevents you from, stay away from it. So when we obey the Prophet ﷺ and his command and we leave alone our beards, then this is what? This is ibadah, because we're listening and obeying the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And when we obey the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for the Muslim man leaving his beard, that's ibadah. We do that for ibadatan, worshipping Allah ta'ala by way of leaving our beards alone, letting it grow. We don't shave it, we leave it. This is ibadah. But you find they'll turn their backs on this ibadah. So this is what the Shaykh he means by this point, that they'll go and they'll deny and they'll turn away from many aspects and categories of ibadah. Naam. The Shaykh he says, and you will find that they would diminish وقصرتها على أعمال محدودة, and they will restrict the ibadah to just certain things. And you may find people saying this. Why, brother, why you doing all this and all that? Listen, long as you fast in Ramadan, you go to Jum'ah, you go to the Eid, you're good. You're a good Muslim. You'll find people saying stuff like this. You're a good Muslim. You want to grow your beard? Grow your beard in Ramadan. Sister, you want to cover? Cover Ramadan. After Ramadan, you want to cover? It's okay. As long as you cover Ramadan. You just make sure Ramadan you cover. You just make sure inside of Ramadan you grow your beard. And you'll find brothers like this. And you get so happy. Because you know the brother and you see him, he shave his beard all year, and the Ramadan come, mashallah, he start growing his beard is all getting big and it's nice, and you get happy, and you feeling like, alhamdulillah, the brother, inshallah, he make tawbah, he make a good change, he turn the corner, mashallah, doing good, and like that, and then he come on the Eid, and his face is no hair on it. No hair. And then it break your heart. Really, your heart, it crushes your heart, it breaks you. Because, you get so souped up. You say, the brother's doing good, mashallah, and he got a big beard. And then, a beard bigger than mine. Look good, better than mine. Mashallah, bless you with a beautiful beard. Then he comes on the Eid, he has no beard. Breaks your heart out. Really, it breaks your heart. But then when you investigate why, you know what happened? You was growing your beard. One of the brothers, he said straight up, he said, because it was Ramadan. Straight up is what he said. He said, because it was Ramadan. And then everyone's supposed to understand. Now, even just go to bed in Ramadan. It's sad. But this is what the Shaykh he means, that you find them that they will just restrict it to certain things. As long as you do these things right here, you're good. It's fine, you're good. Naam. Wallahu musta'an. And the Shaykh he says, وَالشَّعَائِرْ قَلِيلًا تُؤْدِي فِي Masjid فَقَطْ. He said that you will find that they're very limited. Or you find that these individuals that they only perform certain little bit of things, and they only do it in the masjid only. So they're only religious when they come to the masjid. Only time they pray is when they come to the masjid. That's it. Anytime outside the masjid, they're not doing nothing. They read Qur'an when they come to the masjid. Right? And you find people like this. They fall into these habits. They come to the masjid. Give me a mushaf. They read Qur'an. They're making sunnahs and all this stuff, and they're praying and so on and so forth. But you find they only do it in the masjid. When they're home, they don't read no Qur'an. When they're home, no sunnahs. Or and some of them, وَيَعَذُ بِاللَّهِ, when they're home, they don't pray at home. So the Shaykh he says, لَا مَجَالِ الْعِبَادَةِ فِي الْبَيْتِ. You don't find a situation for them performing the acts of worship inside of the house. وَلَا فِي مَكْتَبِ. No inside of the, what would you say, in the office. Now, you find certain brothers like that. You see him in the masjid, he's one person. Right? You catch him in his place of business, whole nother person. Catch him in the office, whole nother person. In the masjid, mashallah, think he's like an oak. Catch him in his place of business, laughing and giggling with the women, shaking women's hands. Total another person. Like, oh, what happened? But you find like that, they change. The Shaykh, he says, وَلَا فِي مَتْجَرٍ وَلَا فِي مَتْجَرٍ. And likewise, inside of the matjar, which is the place of business, you don't find, there's no ibadah there. There's no ibadah in the place of business. You don't see any signs of ibadah in the place of business. وَلَا فِي الشَّارِعِ. Nor when they're inside of the streets, going back and forth in the streets, you don't see any signs of the ibadah there. وَلَا فِي مُعَامَلَاتِ وَلَا فِي مُعَامَلَاتِ. And nor inside of their mutual dealings. When it comes to mutual dealings, they're not concerned to interact in ways that have been legislated by the deen of Islam. وَلَا فِي السِّيَاسَةِ. You see this a lot. وَلَا فِي السِّيَاسَةِ. Nor inside of their politics. You don't see any signs of ibadah in their politics. They say this is politics. Politics is separate from the deen. No. In Islam, there's no separation between the deen and the state. There's no separation between the deen and the state and in Islam. But rather, the state is ran in accordance to the rules and regulations of the deen. That's how it is. The state is ran according to the rules and regulations of the deen, of the sharia. That's how the state is ran. So in Islam, because Islam has guidance for everyone. Now, Allah Ta'ala sent down guidance for everyone. He sent down guidance that's for the rulers and how they are to run the affairs of the Muslims. He sent down guidance for the generals inside of the army and how they are to deal with the soldiers under their command. He has sent down orders and commands for the soldiers. He has sent down orders and commands for those who are under the rulership of the ruler. Now, he has sent down command for the judges. He has sent down command for those who come for litigation and so on and so forth. Allah Ta'ala has sent down command for everyone in the society, every level of society. From all the way to the top level, from the rulers and from the ulama, all the way down to how the family structure is ran and so on and so forth. Everybody. There's rules and regulations in Islam for everybody in the society. Everybody in society. Even how we as human beings are supposed to interact with the environment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down rules and regulations with regards to that. So if a person tells you it is not permissible in Islam to litter, to take garbage and throw it in the street, is not permissible in Islam. What's the dalil? Is that the Prophet ﷺ said, وَإِمَاطَةُ الْأَذَى عَنِ الطَّرِيقِ, and to remove something harmful from the road, that's from Iman. To remove something harmful from the road is from Iman. So also from Iman is what? Don't put nothing harmful inside the road. Don't put nothing harmful inside the road. Right? So throwing out litter and all that stuff, that's not, Islam doesn't allow that. Doesn't allow us for us to do that. So we have regulations how we ought to treat the environment. You want to take oil and just throw it anywhere? Then we know that's putting something harmful inside of the land. We can't do it. It will corrupt the water tables and so on and so forth. And now the people's drinking water becomes spoiled because we're dumping chemicals in the land. So with that being the case, then what? It's not permissible for us to dump chemicals inside the land. It's not permissible. So Islam gives us rules and regulations as we are to deal with the environment. Also, how we are to deal with the animals. You can't just go around abusing animals just because you feel like it. Just kicking cats and dogs because you feel like it. No, we're not allowed to be like that. We know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he informed us of the woman who went to hell because of a cat. Because she kept it and she imprisoned it, right? She didn't feed it and she didn't let it go free to get its own food. So she what? She went to hell. And then we know the hadith of the prostitute who went to Jannah because she gave a very thirsty dog something to drink. Because she was kind to the dog. Now, so we understand. And by the way, this prostitute, she was a Muslim. So I don't want nobody to think like half a prostitute went to heaven because of a dog. No, she was a believing woman. She just had some really bad sinful behavior, but she believed. She was a Muslim because kuffar ain't going to heaven. Period. You understand? She was a believing woman. She just had some very bad, sinful, nasty behavior. But ala kulli hal, because of the kindness she showed to the dog, she was forgiven and she went to the Jannah. So we had to treat animals kindly. If we have animals under our care, we have to be kind to them. We have to make sure that they're fed. We have to take care of their needs. If they get sick, then we have to get treatment for them. That's binding on us. It's not a choice. You have to take care of those things that are under your under your charge. You have to take care of it. That includes that animal, the cat, the hamster, the bird, whatever. You have to take care of it. You have to take care of it. The fish, you have to feed them, take care of them. If the fish get ick, you can't say, okay, khalas, just watch him get fuzzy and die from the thing. You have to buy the tablets and whatever it is as the medicine for it. You have to do it. You have to go buy the drop. You have to do it. Take care of them. Because they're under your care. Under your care. If you don't want to take care of them, then you let them go. You let them go wherever they live at, and then they go and they get the risk from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on their own. They look for it themselves. This is very important. Islam teaches this, so there's no aspect of our life except that we have rules and regulations that we have to abide by. The Shaykh, he says, وَلَا حُكُمْ في منازعات. Nor do they practice see no ibadah when it comes to the ruling, when they have differences, when they're arguing with each other and have differences. You don't find them referring back to the rules and regulations of Al-Islam. The Shaykh says, وَلَا غَيْرِ ذَلِكَ مِنْ شُؤُونِ الْحَيَاءِ. And nor in other affairs of their life do you find any signs of ibadah. This is that first group, those who are lackadaisical. The Shaykh, he says, نعم للمسجد فضل. He said, yes, the masjid, it has a special place. It has a place of superiority and a high standing. The Shaykh, he says, وَيَجِبُ أن تؤدي فيه الصلوات الخمس. And we have to do the 5 daily prayers inside of it. ولكن العبادة تشمل كل حياة المسلم. He said, but ibadah, it encompasses every portion of the life of the Muslim. Like in the last week's class. Ibadah, it covers every aspect of the life of the Muslim, everything that they do. The Shaykh, he says, داخل المسجد وخارجه. Inside of the masjid and outside of the masjid. That there's never a situation where there's not an opportunity for us to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by way of it. So we're not just religious when we come to the masjid, but we got to be religious everywhere. Because the same way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees us in the masjid, the same way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees us when we're not inside the masjid, the same way Allah ta'ala, He has made things binding upon us and wajib upon us when we're in the masjid, the same way He has made things wajib and binding upon us when we're outside of the masjid. The same way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited things upon us when we're in the masjid, the same way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited things upon us when we're outside the masjid. So being religious is not just when we come to the masjid, but we have to be religious wherever we are inside of Allah's creation. Wherever we are inside Allah's creation, we have to listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam. So this is the first group. The second group, these are the ones who they are extremists. تشددت في تطبيق العبادات إلى حد التطرف. These are the ones who they are too harsh when it comes to implementing the acts of worship until they come to the point of extremism. فرفعت مستحبات إلى مرتبة الواجبات. So these are the people who they will take things that are voluntary and things that are recommended, and they will raise it to the level of being obligatory. Things that are recommended, they will raise it to the level, now they say it's obligatory. So they treat things that are recommended like it is obligatory. Now, وَحَرَّمَتْ بَعْضَ الْمُبَاحَاتِ. And they make some of the things that are permissible to be impermissible. They make some of the things that are permissible to be impermissible. This is not saying like those people who stay away from things from min bab wara, from religious abstention. Because they stay away from it, not saying that you can't do it. They just prefer to stay away. No, these are people who stay away from things that are halal, and they tell you that no, it's haram, you can't do it. You can't do it. Naam. The Shaykh, he says, وَحَكَمَتْ بِالتَّضْلِيلِ أَوْ تُخْطِئَ عَلَى مَنْ خَالَفَ مِنْ هَجْرٍ. And they rule and they say that those who go against them and those who oppose their methodology, then they are astray and they are wrong. Now, وَخَطَّأَ مفاهيمهم. So you find that their understandings, it is incorrect. The way these people look is incorrect. Because the reality of it is, as the Shaykh says, وَخَيْرُ الْهَدْيِ هَدْيِ مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَشَرُّ الْأُمُورِ مُحْدَثَاتُهَا. Because the best of guidance is the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the worst of all affairs are newly invented matters. The Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, inside of the next chapter, and we'll try to go through it quickly. He mentions, he says, وَأَنَّ الْعِبَادَةَ تَرْتَكِسْ عَلَى ثَلَاثَ رَكَائِسْ وَهِيَ. That the ibadah, it will, how would you say, it will evolve around certain accesses. That the ibadah, it will move around certain accesses, and it has certain pivotal points. These pivotal points, and they're very important, they are al-hubb, love, al-khawf, fear, wal-raja, hope. Ibadah has to have these three aspects to it: love, fear, and hope. It's very important. The Shaykh says, فَالْحُبْ مَعَ الظُّلْمِ. So you find that the love, it has to be coupled with submissiveness. The love has to be coupled with submissiveness. وَالْخَوْفِ مَعَ الرَّجَاءِ. And fear has to be coupled with hope. Fear has to be coupled with hope. The Shaykh says, لا بد في العبادة من اجتماع هذه الأمور. We have to bring all of these things together in ibadah. It's a must. وقال تعالى في وصف عباده المؤمنين. And Allah Ta'ala, He says about and describing His believing servants. Allah Ta'ala says, يحبهم ويحبونه. He loves them and they love Him. So Allah Ta'ala, He affirms that the believers, they love Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. وقال تعالى, Allah Ta'ala, He says, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. And those who believe, they love Allah more. The first ayah can be found in Surah Al-Ma'idah, and it's verse 54. نعم يحبهم ويحبونه. It can be found in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 54. And the second can be found in Surah Al-Baqarah, and it's verse 165. وقال تعالى في وصف رسله وأنبيائه. And Allah Ta'ala, He says in describing His prophets and His messengers, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ. That they used to compete inside of doing good deeds. نعم وَيَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا. And they used to call upon us out of hope and out of fear. وَكَانُوا لَنَا خَاشِعِينَ. And they used to have fear. And they used to have fear for us. Naam. And they used to be humble. Naam. And they used to have humble and humility. So it is a must that we are humbled to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. We have hope and fear, and that we love Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And we have to worship Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala based upon these pivotal points. وَقَالَ بَعْدِ السَّلَفِ. And some of the Salaf, they used to say, مَنْ عَبِدَ اللَّهَ. And I want you to pay attention to this and write this one down. The Salaf, they used to say, مَنْ عَبِدَ اللَّهَ بِالْحُبِّ وَحْدَهُ فَهُوَ زِنْدِيقٌ. Whoever worships Allah with love only, then he is a heretic. Whoever worships Allah with love only, then he's a heretic. Naam. If a person, he come in and say, I worship Allah out of love only, he's a heretic. It's not sufficient. He's a heretic. Naam. وَمَنْ عَبَدَ اللَّهَ بِالرَّجَاءِ وَحْدَهُ فَهُوَ مُرْجِي. And whoever worships Allah out of hope only, then he's a murji from the murji'ah. Then he's murji. The one who says, I'm just hoping, then he's murji. Naam. وَمَنْ عَبَدَهُ بِالْخَوْفِ وَحْدَهُ فَهُوَ حَرُورِي. And whoever worships Allah out of fear only, then he is haruri. Haruri, a Khariji. Then he's a Khariji from the Khawarij. Because the Khawarij, they're the ones who worship Allah only out of fear. There's no hope, no love, just fear. So he's Khariji. Now, so the one who worships Allah out of love only, then he's a heretic. The one who worships Allah out of hope only, then he's a murji. The one who worships Allah out of fear only, then he's Khariji. You can't take these by themselves. They have to come together. The Shaykh, he says, وَمَنْ عَبَدَهُ بِالْحُبِّ وَالْخَوْفِ وَالرَّجَاءِ فَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ مُوَحِّدٌ. And whoever worships Allah out of love, fear, and hope, then this one, he is a believing monotheist. He's a believer and he's a monotheist. And Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says in his famous book, Al-Ubudiyyah, his famous book, Al-Ubudiyyah, Servitude, he said, the deen of, for deen Allah, Allah's deen, ibadatuhu wa ta'atuhu wal khudu' lahu. You have, is the worship of Allah, obedience to Allah, and being humble to Allah Azza wa Jal. Wal ibadah aslu ma'naha. And that ibadah, the original meaning of it is dhul. Is that something is lowly. Something is low. It has been humbled. Alright? So the deen of Allah is the worship of Allah, be obedient to Allah, and to be humble and submit to Allah. Because the origin of the word ibadah, because as Muslims we have to bring forth the ibadah, we've been created to what? Bring forth the ibadah to Allah only. So it's important to know that ibadah, the origin of ibadah inside of the Arabic language, that it means that something is low. The Shaykh, he says, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, يُقَالُ طَرِيقٌ مُعَبَّدٌ. He says, so it is said that a road is mu'abbad, meaning that it has been lowered or smoothened out, right? Because of the people constantly walking on it. The well-treaded road, and it is smooth and it's been made low due to the people constantly walking on it. Because and it comes from this word, al-ibadah, meaning that something that is low. So in order to bring forth the ibadah, a person, he must submit himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it has to have these characteristics along with it, with love, with hope and fear. So the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, and he brings some scenarios. He said, إِذَا كَانَ مُضَلَّلًا فَقَدْ وَطَأَتْهُ الْأَقْدَامِ. Or further explaining, it said, and it's become low because the feet have beat it down. The Shaykh, he says, وَلَكِنْ عِبَادَ الْمَأْمُورِ بِهَا. He says, but you find that the ibadah that we are commanded to do it, تَتَضَمَّنْ مَعْنَى الظُّلْمِ, it will encompass the meaning of being humbled and humility, وَمَعْنَى الْحُبِّ, and the meaning of love, وَهِيَ تَتَضَمَّنْ غَايَةَ الظُّلِّ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, and this will encompass the epitome of humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we submit ourselves to Allah with the epitome of what it means to submit. وَبِغَايَةِ الْحُبْ لَهُ, and that we love Allah to the epitome of what it means to love. This is important. As Muslims, we have to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the full extent of what it means to love. And we have to submit ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the full extent of what it means to submit. The Shaykh, he says, bringing some scenarios. نعم ومن خضع للإنسان مع بغضه له لا يكون عابدا له. Shaykh al-Islam, he brings some examples. He says, so whoever is humbled to another human being, and he's made lowly to another human being, while he hates that person, then he is not considered as one who worships that person. That makes sense? Because you may have someone that forces you into submission. You may have someone that forces you into submission. But because you hate that person, because generally when somebody forces you to do something, you like that person? No. Somebody forced you to do something, you don't like that guy. right? Gunpoint, forces you to do something. So you have to do it. He forces you. But you hate him. So it's not considered that you worship him. So that by itself is not enough. You see? وَلَوْ أَحَبَّ شَيْئًا وَلَمْ يَخْضَعْ لَهُ لَمْ يَكُنْ عَابِدًا لَهُ. And if you love something but you don't submit yourself to it, then you're not worshipping it. The Shaykh, he says, كَمَا يُحِبُّ الرَّجُلُ وَلَدَهُ وَصَدِيقَهُ. Just like a man, he may love his child and he may love his friend. But people don't submit themselves to their children nor to their friends. Right? They don't submit themselves to their children, nor do they submit themselves to their friends. But they love their children, love their friends. And they love their spouses, and so on and so forth. The Shaykh says, وَلِهَذَا لَا يَكْفِي أَحَدُهُمَا فِي عِبَادَةِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. He says, so therefore it is not permissible, it's not enough to just bring one of these things as relates to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To just bring either submissiveness, but then there's no love, that's not enough. To just bring love, but there's no submissiveness, that's not enough. They have to come together. The Shaykh, he says, بَلْ يَجِبُ أَن يَكُونَ اللَّهُ أَحَبُّ إِلَى الْعَبْدِ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. He said, but rather, Allah, he must become more beloved to the slave from anything and everything else. The slave must love Allah more than he loves everything else. More than he loves his wife, more than he loves his father, his mother, more than he loves his children, more than he loves himself. He has to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than he loves everything. وَأَن يَكُونَ اللَّهُ أَعْظَمْ عِنْدَهُ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. And Allah has to be the greatest thing with him. Allah has to be with him greater than everything else. Naam. Allah has to be with him greater than everything else. The Shaykh, he says, بَلْ لَا يَسْتَحِقُّ الْمَحَبَّةِ وَالْخُضُوعَ التَّامِ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. He says, and no one deserves the epitome of love and the epitome of submissiveness except Allah. No one deserves complete love and complete submissiveness be given to them except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam. And this just reminds me of some statements they have here in the West that are very dangerous. From those statements, the statements that people they say to their loved ones, I love you with all my heart. A'udhu billah, kayf. And then some they add to it, I love you with all my heart and soul. A'udhu billah. This love is not correct. Because that is the indication that they love this individual more than they love everything else. And that's shirkiyah. That's the love that is shirkiyah. This is the love that the polytheists they have for their idols and the things in which they worship and so on and so forth. No. The complete love is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter how much you love your boo, you don't love her more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. No matter how much you love your children, you don't love them more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter how much you love your mother, you don't love her more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter how much you love your father, you don't love him more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No way. You love Allah ta'ala more. Naam. Likewise, we don't submit ourselves with the full extent of what it means to be submissive, that perfect submission except to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the only one who's deserving of that. The Shaykh, he says, وَهَذِهِ رَكَائِزْ الْعُبُودِيَّةِ الَّتِي تَدُورُ عَلَيْهَا. And these are the pivotal points of servitude on which they revolve around. نعم. وقال العلامة Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala في النونية, and Imam Ibn Qayyim, he says in Nuniyya, these beautiful lines of poetry, he says, وَعِبَادَةُ الرَّحْمَنِ غَايَةُ حُبِّهِ مَعَ ظُلِّ عَابِدِهِ هُمَا قُطْبَانِ وَعَلَيْهِمَا فَلَكُ الْعِبَادَ دَائِرٌ مَا دَارَ حَتَّى قَامَتِ الْقُطْبَانِ ومداره بالأمر أمر رسوله لا بالهوى والنفس والشيطان. Imam Ibn Qayyim, he said that the ibadah al-Rahman, it is the epitome of love coupled with the epitome of submissiveness. These are the two pivotal points for those who worship Him. upon these two pivotal points do you find the orbit of ibadah moving upon, and it is not established without these two pivotal points. And that which fuels the movement upon this axis is the command of his messenger. لا بالهوى والنفس والشيطان. It is not moved, it is not put into motion by your desires, nor by nor from yourself and what your own soul craves, nor from the shaitan. Nor from the shaitan. This is the reality of what? Of ibadah. Naam. And the Imam, he likens it beautifully, more than the English can express, or more than that was expressed inside of the English. Because the Imam, he likened the hubb and the epitome of love and the epitome of submissiveness to ibadah like an axis. Like an axis. Right? Because when you have a wheel, the wheel can't move without an axis. Sah walillah? It can't move without the axis. Naam. So the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, so you find that the rotation, right, it won't happen unless the axis is established. And the axis is the epitome of love and the epitome of submissiveness. And without that, then the ibadah is not going to go. It needs that. And that which fuels the motion of the ibadah, right, because we're talking about like something getting in motion, so you got the axis. That which will fuel the motion to get it to move, then it's the command of his messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's what makes the ibadah move. Not what we desire, not from the inclinations of ourselves, and not from the whispers of shaitan. These things don't get the ibadah moving. So a person, and he's saying, but I like it feels good to me. Like with the Christian, they say, it feels good. I like it feels good. That's not going to move the ibadah because you like it feels good to you. That's not a frame of reference. That doesn't get the ibadah moving. Likewise, you don't say, well, I came up with this and I think it's good. That don't get the ibadah moving. Likewise, the whispers of shaitan, that don't get the ibadah moving. The only way that the ibadah moves is by what? Is by the command of the Prophet ﷺ, is because we have daleel. This is because ibadah is tawqifiyya. Without a daleel, ibadah is no going, it's no moving. We need daleel. Once we got daleel, now we can move. And this is why the Imam, he articulated it in this way, and he likened it to this concept so that everyone can understand how ibadah works. Naam. The Shaykh, he says, شبه رحمه الله تعالى دوران العبادة على المحبة والذل للمحبوب وهو الله جل وعلا. He says so, Shaykh Fawzan, he says so that the Shaykh, rahimahullah ta'ala, the Imam, meaning Imam Ibn Qayyim, he likened the rotation of the ibadah, or the movement of the ibadah, that it has to be upon love and it has to be upon submissiveness to the one that we love. And the one who is loved, that it is Allah Jalla wa'ala. Naam. So the Shaykh, he says, بِدَوْرَانِ الْفَلَكْ عَلَى قُطْبَيْهِ. He says, he made it like the rotation of something that is upon his axis. Naam. Or upon his two axes. وذكر أن دوران الفلك العبادة بأمر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وما شرعه. And he made it clear that the orbit and that which will bring the rotation of the ibadah, or get the ibadah to moving, then verily it is the command of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam by that in which he had legislated. Not bil hawa. The Shaykh, he says, la bil hawa, not by the hawa, وما تأمر به النفس والشيطان, not by the desires, nor by that which the soul commands you to do, nor by that which the shaitan commands you to do. فَلَيْسَ ذَلِكَ مِنَ الْعِبَادَةِ, because that is not from ibadah. فَمَا شَرَعَهُ الرَّسُولُ صلى الله عليه وسلم فَهُوَ الَّذِي يَدِيرُ الْفَلَكُ الْعِبَادَةِ. And whatever the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم he legislated, then that is what going to get the rotation of the ibadah going. وَلَا تُدِيرُهُ الْبِدْعِ وَالْخُرَفَاتِ وَالْأَهْوَاءِ وَتَقْلِيدُ الْآبَاءِ. He says, and the ibadah, it is not going to get moving, it is not put into motion based upon innovative things, based upon bid'ah, is not put into motion, nor upon khurafat, nor upon superstitious beliefs. You find some people that have superstitious beliefs. Na'am. So this is not going to be the fuel for ibadah and get it to moving, nor by the desires, nor by blind following the forefathers. Nor by blind following the forefathers. Ibadah doesn't move upon these things, but it has to move in that which is compliant to what? To the sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Shaykh, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he brings us to the next section, which is dealing with the Tawheed al-Asma' wal-Sifat, dealing with the Tawheed of the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فنتوقف هنا فنكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.